Greg's back in the house. How are you, Greg?
Oh, splendid. Good morning to you.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, it's a nice little day out there. I was up in Pittsburgh earlier this week for 3 days, and not sure what happened, Peter, what your luck's been up there, but didn't catch one fish.
Oh, good. I was going to say I hate you, but now I don't feel so bad. It's interesting because what day was it, Pat? We had Al on.
Al was on, I think, Tuesday.
Okay. We had one of the guides, Al Karg from Soft Tackle Guide Service in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. He was on with us, and he was talking about the water temperature. He said on the trophy stretch it wasn't bad, but below Murphy Dam the water was still cold, and so you didn't have the caddis hatch yet. And so the fish were kind of like ambivalous. So I guess you found that out, huh?
Oh yeah, below the dam it was very, very cold. It was definitely cold, but yeah, nothing going on. I thought maybe that individuals that had so much time off, they just went to their camps there and fished 7 days a week or something, or fished it out on me or something. I don't know, but
no,
no fish to be had.
Well, but I did hear that he did say that the water temperature down in Colebrook was around 60. So once it gets away from First Lake and Murphy, it starts warming up, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah, but you had a good time, didn't you?
Oh, I had a great time.
There you go. Relaxing. And it was a chance to recharge your batteries, so it's all good.
Yeah. It was the first getaway I'd had in several years, so it was great. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Anything before anything you want to chat about, rounded up at the register, or anything going on at the co-op before we chat with our guests?
They're introducing new things on the hot bar's down, but grab and go. They're really working to come up with some different things to offer there, and they've just launched breakfast sandwiches. So the first one out is a bacon, egg, and cheese for $4.99. It looks delish, and they're adding to that selection next week. So now they're working on some pizzas that you can make. Pick up the ingredients and take that home with you. So they're trying everything they can to put out something out there that people enjoy, and with individuals with coming back to the downtown businesses, good thing to just go in and grab a breakfast sandwich if you're downtown.
Yep. What time can I get in there to get a breakfast sandwich?
8 a.m.
Okay.
And they'll serve the sandwiches till 11.
Okay.
And that's when and the roasters, the roasted chickens come out at 9, so they start coming out at 9 o'clock. 9 a.m.
Wow. Bacon, egg, and cheese. I'm eating pineapple chunks. Do you know how good bacon, egg, and cheese sounds right now?
Yeah, when do we get back in your studio? I'll bring you one.
Okay. I don't know.
We try to keep pressing it regularly.
And they keep telling us to sit down and shut up.
Yeah. So we sit down and shut up.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
All right.
So what would you like to do today, Greg?
Well, we have some great guests on today, Angela and Julieann, and they've talked about this topic before, using your strengths, your character strengths, to improve your wellness, and so I always think that's pretty interesting. It's just like it's just a different topic and something I don't think people would normally even think about, their character strengths to improve their wellness. So Angela has a lot of experience and education on the topic, and I'd love to hear what she has to say again.
Angela Bergen. Morning, Angela.
Good morning, everyone.
Good to have you back.
Thank you so much. Good to be back.
Health psychology, PhD, mental health clinician who takes a strength-based perspective, also a wellness educator and consultant, helping healthcare providers implement lifestyle medicine programs into their practices to improve patient outcomes. Angela can be reached at strengthsrising@gmail.com. Let me, 2 questions to start with. We talk about wellness. What is wellness? I think that word gets thrown around so much. I don't think anybody, we're talking mental health, my diet health, my physical. What are we talking about?
Well, if you're talking true wellness, it encompasses all of that, everything you just mentioned. And I think it depends on what the person needs at the time. For you, if you're focused on your pineapple chunks instead of the bacon, egg, and cheese, it sounds like you're focused on your physical wellness right now, right?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people right now with everything going on with the social isolation focused on mental wellness and what self-care looks like for them. So I think if I had to wrap it up in a word, I would say it's practicing self-care in whatever way that you need most at the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can I focus on my mental wellness, my physical wellness, my diet? Well, can I do it simultaneously? I mean, that seems like a real big boat to paddle.
It does sound like a lot. I think that the general consensus would be that, baby steps, focusing on one area at a time or very small chunks of different areas all at once can work well. It depends on how much time you have available. If you're trying to juggle that with working and other obligations, then no, I think biting off more than you can chew would only lead you towards frustration because you can't do everything at the same time. If you have a ton of time on your hands, you can make a schedule to work on wellness, but yeah, generally it's something you integrate into your life a bit more naturally and slowly.
And I'm sure this sounds like a silly question, but does everybody have a character strength, and do they know they have it?
Absolutely. Everybody has many character strengths. In fact, the research tells us that there's 24 different researched identifiable character strengths that we all possess. We just tend to possess them in different quantities. So my character strengths, what we would call signature strengths, meaning my top 5, will look a little different than your top 5, but we all still have character strengths. And when I say character strengths, sometimes people think about the word strength and they think of skills and talents, and that's not really what character strengths are. Character strengths are deeper down. They're at the core of who we are. They are what make us who we are and what we value. So here's some examples, things like creativity, curiosity, love of learning, zest, honesty, kindness, teamwork, forgiveness, hope, gratitude, things like that. So these are the core qualities of what makes us who we are, and we are all of those things to some degree, but we shine in different areas. Each of us, that's what makes us unique.
So what do you,
yes, we all have character strengths. The awareness is another question.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Yes, but especially since these are a little bigger, it's not like I'm good with money, and that's one of my strengths. It's it goes a little bit deeper than that. But I suppose if you get in touch with some of those deeper things, you really can put it to work for you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes you can take a skill and uncover what the strengths are behind it. So if you're good with money, maybe it's that you're really good at self-regulation, which is a character strength, and you're kind of just good at regulating yourself in certain ways.
Huh. What are your top 3?
My top 3, my number 1 is perspective, and then kindness, and then love.
Nice. Wow. And how are the ways, what are some of the ways that you can put those to work for you, to use your character strengths?
Oh, absolutely. And I find, and research will support, that we are all happier when we put our character strengths to use, specifically our signature strengths, because those are most core to who we are. It's like we wouldn't be who we are without them. So my strength of perspective is my top strength. I use that strength all the time when I'm home with my girls and I'm working on the different perspectives that each of them is feeling, trying to work through some challenges, or I'm at work and I'm helping somebody work through a panic attack or understand why they may be feeling a certain way about something, and really just trying to empathize and take those different perspectives or even shed light on a new perspective just to help broaden the scope of things. So I use that strength all the time.
Wow. Lurking in the reeds with a guitar, Julieann Hartley. Hi, Julieann.
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm along for the ride on this conversation today. I also, I work in the therapy world as well, so it's so interesting to kind of reflect on all these strengths things. It's not something I've necessarily had a conversation about before, though. So this is kind of cool to think back.
So you've had some challenges.
Oh God, yeah.
What are your top 3 strengths?
I'm sure there's some sort of assessment that helps you kind of figure out what those top 5 or top 3 are. But if I were going to just guess, I would say my creativity, my empathizing ability, and probably, I don't know, I guess being compassionate probably goes along, and my curiosity. I would say those are probably the 3 things that have helped me through my pretty dramatic chronic illness journey.
Wow.
And perseverance. Perseverance, I would imagine, for you.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if that's a strength. I haven't seen the list. So perseverance is probably up there, too.
All right, Greg, you're not immune. What are your 3?
I don't know. I guess it's perseverance. I think that's what came to mind. Persistence. Just if I have a goal, I'm not done until I've achieved that goal. So, however you want to label that, I guess I'd call it perseverance.
It is. There is.
Yeah, I have a ton of respect for people who are goal oriented, because they don't lose sight of it. Other people do. It's like, I can't get there. But people will not lose the people who say, I need to finish this project by next Friday, or I want to have $1,000 in my bank account, or I want to do I want to lose 10 pounds by. They're task driven and they're goal oriented, and I respect them for that.
Yeah, I guess I would need to pull something else in, because when it comes to wellness, I'm not quite as my goals aren't quite as rigid. If I'm trying to lose weight or something, that's different than I'm going to build a shed. The shed gets built, the 10 pounds doesn't get lost.
Trust me, I am with you. I have never met a principal I couldn't compromise.
You need heavier wood to build the shed with, Greg. Maybe that would help.
Yeah.
It sounds like, part of this conversation is also, instead of just being goal-oriented as a strength, it sounds like it's more of like, well, how can you use your creativity, or how can you use your strengths to help you get towards your goal?
Right.
Not necessarily, being goal-oriented as a strength. It's just, well, how can you use what you're very good at to get towards these goals, towards wellness?
Exactly. That's spot on. So, Greg, if you've got a health goal in mind, and you're strong, in perseverance, you may want to not set small goals, but rather set a large goal and set a time frame on it, right? You can use the SMART goal principles. And sometimes they'll suggest people who are strong in perseverance, tracking can be really important for them, because they get to see that progress along the way. So if you have a goal and you even write it on a piece of paper or a poster board and you tuck it away at home, and you've got today and you've got a year from now, and you've got 12 lines to check in every month, and you're tracking that goal, it gives you that longer-term sight, which might work better for you rather than the short-term, and just kind of give you that vision and those checkpoints along the way to get to where you want to go.
That's so spot on. I love it. So perseverance is definitely a strength of mine.
Perseverance.
And I do daily tracking of pulse and heart rate variability. And so, I get in these low moments where I'm like, I haven't made any progress, but I have to go back to the big picture and look at month by month and month and see, actually you have. Yeah. That's so interesting.
That's great. But again, you gotta you have to get in touch with your character strengths. So before you can decide even how to move forward.
That's right. Right. It's a whole new language. You have to learn the language.
How do you make the linkage between, let's say, your character strength is compassion, then how do you say, okay, I'm a compassionate person, now how do I apply that to the wellness goal that I have? So that's what I'm not clear on. Is somebody, you can identify them, but how do you then move that into action or something?
Or are you a fair judge of those strengths, or do I need somebody to help identify them with me?
Yep, and there is a survey you can take. But to answer your question, Greg, so if you're strong in kindness as well, and you're wondering, how can I use my strength of kindness to help me with my wellness goal? So you can look at that in two ways. With kindness, there's kindness towards others, and there's kindness towards ourselves. And a lot of times, the people who score high in kindness tend to be the people who are putting their heart out on their sleeve for other people. They're really putting themselves out there and doing kind things for others. And sometimes we forget that we can take that same strength of kindness and reflect it back upon our own selves. And when we do that, we can tap into a different level of wellness, because we can put that effort that we would normally put out to the world and start to just give a little bit of that back onto yourself. Or you can use it towards others in the sense that maybe you get a walking buddy and you're really more motivated maybe by their health goal than your own. And that's okay, because if that's what makes you tick, that you get out of bed and go for that morning walk because you want to help that other person reach their goal, then, hey, work with what you've got. You're just being creative with getting to know who you are, what makes you tick, and how can you put that to its best use.
Wow, there's a lot of
nice
stuff.
Compassion and empathy happening at the same time for that one.
Absolutely.
But people have to be honest with themselves when they're doing this assessment, because they think they're compassionate, they think they're insightful, they think they're creative, such may not be the case. They may be glossing over their real strengths for something that's a little more expeditious.
Well, and the great thing about the survey that I use for character strengths, you would go to viacharacter.org. So it's viacharacter.org. They have a great questionnaire that takes a good solid 15 to 20 minutes, and they ask 240 questions, which sounds like a lot, but they do go kind of quickly. But basically, they're asking 10 different questions per character strength. So the questionnaire is pretty good at uncovering your strengths because they ask different questions about the strengths and in different ways, and they put you in different scenarios. So it really does try to get you out of your head and into your life and how you normally behave and act.
What's the website again?
It's viacharacter.org.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Free survey you can take, and it'll tell you what your top 5 character strengths are.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, that's
good. And then again, then you can take those and apply them to how you approach things.
That's it.
Does it offer at the end some ways to actually apply them, or is it just simply here they are? Does it take it a step further?
If you go to the website, they are loaded with research and ideas and suggestions and more about the strengths and how to apply them. Absolutely. It's a very rich website for resources on strengths.
Awesome.
Great.
Wow.
Highly recommend it. They're a great nonprofit out in Ohio, so doing a lot of great work.
So, Julieann, you're probably going to that website very shortly, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, right as soon as we hang up. I know, I love stuff like that. I just love seeing. I love reflecting. I love pondering on it all. I think it makes us stronger in the end to kind of be vulnerable and look at ourselves in an introspective way. So that's really cool.
All right. Well, tell you what.
It's free to look at each other's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I know you got to take a break, right?
I'm gonna continue conceptualizing that these pineapple chunks are a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, and we're gonna take a break, and we'll be back with more.
You're putting denial to work.
Well, yeah, it is denial. Yeah, we'll be back with the Concord Food Co-op right after this. Concord Food Co-op with us this morning, as we are every Friday morning, and we've got Greg and Angela and Julieann here this morning. And, Greg, you want to follow-up questions?
Follow-up question? No, I'm thinking I'm going to go take that survey, and next week I'll give a little follow-up of what how I was able to apply it. And then next time Juliann's on, I'll ask her to do the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like 10 questions in already.
Oh, look at you. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, again, you don't know where you're going unless you know where you are. I know that's kind of a deep statement, but
that took us all a second to absorb.
Yeah, I mean, but until you know where you are, you don't know really how to get where you're going.
Very true.
So what happens when you fill out the questions and it shows me my top 3, 4, 5 strengths? Then what do I do? How do I expand those or make the best out of them?
So I would read a little bit more on them from the website, find your top 5, just click around, you'll find information about those. I print it out and keep it handy because if you think back on challenges you've faced, you'll find you called upon those strengths. If you had a great success, you'll find you called on those strengths. So no matter what, they're like your best friends, and you can call them into action when you need. But the more you're aware of what they are, what they look like in other people, the more you just build on that language and understanding, the names and the faces of all of those strengths. And then you see them more, and then you can learn to use them more. What
happens if I get the list, and then can I just reach out to you going, Angela, what does this mean?
You sure can. I can email you some information. I've got some great handouts on things.
See, that makes sense. And again, strengthsrising@gmail.com. Wow. And Julieann, how many questions are you up to now?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm polite enough to pause my
question. Okay. Well, I didn't know.
Self-regulation.
I figured she's sitting there going, you guys just talk. I'm taking the survey. Wow.
Angela, why is it that you're dealing with your strengths versus looking at your weaknesses and trying to adjust for your weaknesses or overcome your weaknesses? Why is the approach from the strengths perspective rather than the negative?
That's a great question. Really, the answer is because in psychology, we've come from a place where we've had this deficit-based model, focusing on those weaknesses, focusing on what we don't have or don't do enough of or aren't enough of and things like that. And truth be told, I don't really find it to be very motivating. I think this new wave of positive psychology, by tapping into what we're already good at and using that to overcome challenges, is much more motivating. It's a much better conversation. They're finding that positive emotions really are the precursor to any sort of positive behavioral change. So the fear and deficit approach isn't quite as sustainable as a motivator as positive emotions and feeling good about yourself and using your strengths are. So that new wave of research is really exciting, and I just think it goes with human nature. I certainly would prefer to think about strengths than weaknesses.
That's awesome, and that's a perfect place to leave it.
Angela Bergen, strengthsrising@gmail.com. Julieann Hartley at MissJulieann.com. But wait, she's still got 230 questions to go. Get a hold of her after that. and Greg from the Concord Food Co-op. ConcordFoodCoop.coop is the website. As always, boy, you got a great posse there, Greg. Thanks for bringing them to the table.
If you're in the mood for real food, it's Concord Food Co-op.